And it should send out a notification. Let me see if I can get all the comments up now. View in live control room. I guess that's what I want to do. And I think it started. It says
Yeah,
live.
no, it said that it was live on my end.
Yeah, there we go.
Check my subscriptions here to see what that says. Yep. We're doing it.
Right, cool. So I just wait for people to join the chat now, as usual. I've got this should I tell you, I can click live here, can't I? But then just have the thing muted so I can watch it on the actual one that shows up for everybody else. Altrix, Henry, Tide Pod, TTAM, hello to everybody joining.
Yo.
Hey.
Yeah, I think he's got the same one I've got. The C920 or whatever it's called. Just the alright Logitech one.
Yeah, no, I got the same one that you got. That I bought it off of like eBay. Got a used one, open box.
Yeah, because it's not too bad. Like with the lighting, that's the thing I like about it. You don't have to have loads of lighting on for it to actually pick stuff up all right. But I just generally keep a lot of lighting on when I stream. But
it looks like it's kind of. It looks like it's kind of whitewashing me on this side because of the light coming from the windows.
Yeah, I think you can mess with like all the color correction on it if you want to be bothered to do it, but it will depend on the streaming software.
I think it's fine for now. But
yeah, hello to everybody. I don't know if like before it won't show live if people do a donation to the like charity like it did last time. It didn't show that live, but it did show up when the stream ended. So I'll just say thank you again to anybody that does it, but you know, because it's not going to any of us, but I won't be able to thank you live if you do a donation because I don't think it's going to show up like it didn't do last time. Oh, but then again, the comments show up, don't they, actually, on this one as well? So I might be able to flip between the two tabs and see that.
Yeah, no, I'm watching on the actual viewer right now. I could see the comments pretty much come live as they happen this time, so I don't have to like ask you guys to sort of requisition my requests for me.
Yep. Yeah. Stug saying the M9 gives him anxiety.
Yeah, no.
Me too.
Yeah, no. It's even better when I've got fucking 7 of these.
Yeah, the Psycho Gopher sent me a whole bunch too. For some reason, I have not thrown them out. I like have this thought in the back of my head, like, oh, I can do like tests on the rubber or something, but there's no fucking way I'm gonna get to that anytime soon. They're just sitting in a box over there somewhere. I think it's that larger box, the one that those little 2 boxes are on top of over there.
Oh, cheers, Altrix. It says Altrix just donated $20.
Hey, nice.
Yeah,
these things, I'm probably just gonna keep them for like keepsakes, right, and decoration. I've got some on heads around my bedroom here, but I might make some fun custom masks with these. I might be able to do that.
See, the nose cups on most of mine are salvageable, but there really is no way to dissolve that glue. I've tried doing it with my normal conventional methods, but those things are really in there, so I would need to think of a good way to separate those if I were to salvage them for any purpose.
Oh yeah, the guy with the username I can't really read asks if that's a Yugo M1 or an M9. Yeah, no, this was at a time an M9A1. Yeah.
Yeah, they're I don't know, like, they all came from the same person. Like I said, I have some too, and I have no clue what happened to them that got them so messed up like this. They had to have been, like, demilitarized or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello to everybody joining the chat, by the way. It's probably quite difficult on one of these to individually say hello to everybody because it's just kind of too slow to do that.
Oh, helmet collector. It depends on where you live. If you're in the U.S., yes, $100 is definitely an okayish deal for an M40 right at this time. They used to be able to find full kits for around the ballpark of $50 average, but now that it's, Corona's been a thing, I've seen them spike as high as like 200 or 300. So even if you're like in Europe, that's actually definitely a good price if it's complete.
Well, I'd assume so, John, if we're all on the same channel doing a video at the moment.
Yeah, no, the whole like, it baffles me that people still think that we have a beef or whatever. That ended like last year, so yeah, no, we're chill.
Oh, and I'll just show this because it's behind me, and I was sent. This isn't to keep permanently. This is just to like do some videos on a PMK4 by it's Noah 101 on Discord, but I think he has a different name on YouTube to be confusing. But it's got the full kit and everything with it, but I've not got that handy behind me just because the bag's so big and it's got so many accessories in it. But it's actually a PMK I like, so there's that. rather than it being.
How good is
it's
the
got.
how good is the rubber quality on it? Does the
It
game
reminds
like
me a lot of the Draeger M2000. It seems really
Huh.
similar to rubber on this. So it's
I haven't
basically.
oh, good.
So it's basically like. Yeah, sorry, the rubber of a Draeger M2000, but then a PMK sort of S sort of face piece, just with the rubberized sort of bit there, rather than that just being a thing. But
what was I gonna say? Oh, you said it was like the M2000. I haven't actually handled an M2000 yet. I know Moulage has bought one, but that's in his collection currently, so I still have yet to handle an M2000.
yeah, Marcus lent me an M2000 to do a video on, and then send back to him, and that was quite all right. I quite liked it. It was just again the filter thing I was a bit confused by. Like again, I know it's the thing of like they want something that can take both 40mm and proprietary filters, but it's kind of like, is there really that much of a point just not to have it as a regular 40mm NATO filter?
Yeah, and it isn't even like a good take on a proprietary filter. Like the M61 bayonet filters for the M50, yeah, I sort of understand. Even the GSR filters to some degree, even though, I have my complaints about them, but really it's just, they essentially just made an offset 40mm canister that wasn't 40mm. That's all it was.
Yeah, and the thing that annoyed me was it just was kind of like an OCD sort of thing where it's never quite centralized. You can't actually have it straight. You can have it offset to one side, but not straight. So I was just like, oh, this isn't. That's the only thing. So I'd rather just put a regular filter on it, just because then it's straight.
Fucking crap.
It reminds me of the logic behind like the Belgian BEM4 GP, only instead of like the entire assembly rotating, it's just the filter.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably less likely to go wrong that way, but it's kind of like it doesn't do enough to make it kind of a worthwhile feature.
It also kind of the M2000 filters also kind of remind me of that one experimental filter. Probably none of you have seen it, but it's like this. It was designed for the MPU-6 Joint Service Aircrew Mask, which is like what replaced the M48. And it's basically It's basically along the same lines where it's like a 40mm filter. Only it has like this weird offset to it. Like I don't even think it's like an offset, but it's literally just like the inlet stem is like going off at a right angle from the actual top of the canister. It's weird. But I don't have one of those. I know Retro Respirators has one in his collection, but he doesn't do videos, so that's unlikely that we'll ever see it in public.
Yeah, Mr. Live Era said he used piss because he ordered a PS5 a DPD pre-12 PM delivery for $11.99. They've changed it to Yodel. At least they didn't change it to Hermes. Otherwise, you'd just be getting like a bag of shrapnel rather than the PS5. But yeah, I didn't end up ordering a PS5 in the end. I might get one after Christmas if they're reduced slightly. I couldn't really fathom paying £500 for a console.
Oh, General DG. If I said your name right, I have bad eyes. Yeah, no, they're not removed. They're not. I mean, they are removed, but they're not. They're not deleted as everyone is saying they are. They're just private. Well, not private. I think they're unlisted. That's the term. They're unlisted currently. They're still available to those who have them in their favorites and those who have access to the playlist. I basically just cleaned up my channel for future videos. I mostly just wanted to step back and take a break while I'm doing other projects at the moment. I do plan on doing videos again in the future, but right now I just want to have a bit of space, get things done, I guess. For instance, this is another thing I've been working on. I'm basically been developing my own custom pouches for C420 blower units. This is the second prototype that I've made for one of these pouches, and once the laser cut templates for cutting the fabric come in, because I basically just made these off of cardboard templates. Once those come in, I'll start being able to offer C420 pouches in a variety of camos and colors that you can't normally get on the market, because you're pretty much just limited to like multicam or Ranger Green or whatever for C420 pouches.
Yeah, it looks like Altrix's connection has just, I guess, gone down slightly because it's gone to pixelated, but I think it's doing that so it doesn't start lagging the video.
Am I not coming through okay?
No, your audio is great.
Your audio's fine, it's just the pictures, and it's like your picture's still live, it's just gone into like pixel quality again.
Oh dear.
So you've got a good webcam, you just can't use it. Right, John, the reason I just wanted to get a PS5 was just more because I have a lot of friends that just do console gaming now rather than anything else. I kind of wanted to get the Demon's Souls remake. That was kind of the reason I was into a PS5. But like, I don't need to even upgrade my PC. There's still nothing my PC can't play. It's just I kind of wanted a PS5, but then I'm like, I don't want to pay console prices.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not really
Griffin Game, is that like a fully working CDV 700s? And do you know which company it was that made it? Is it like a Victorine one? Is it what were the other ones that did them? There's a few civil defense companies that were like made them. Yeah, CDV 700s I still reckon are one of the best retro Geigers you can get, assuming you can get a working one that's not like going to break any minute due to overuse.
I still want to get one of those U.S. pocket radiacs. Like I'm not too big into the radiation protective stuff because I mostly focus on chemical biological stuff. But that's like one thing that's always been on my bucket list. But now they're like hard to find because the DoD basically like realized that they're everyone's posting them on eBay. Better get them taken down for ITAR reasons.
Yeah, there was one of the US ones that was turning up in the UK. It's just the seller wanted so much for it. I was like, it's not worth that compared to the other like radiation meters you can get on the market that fit the same criteria of like radiation ranges.
Mm-hmm.
The one I've got coming at
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
so the one I've got coming at the moment is the one a load of people told me to get, which is like the what's it called brand of it, the Thermo Fisher kind of one of these, which has an even bigger range because these are actually quite practical. So it's just the idea of I can keep one in my pocket, then immediately know if something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
You've raised over $260, have we, Ultrix? Let me have a look. Thank you,
still
anybody
doing
that's doing.
Is it still doing the pixeling thing on my end?
Yeah, but
I don't know why it's doing that. Every time I join one of these streams, it does something to my quality.
yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, anyone that's donated. It says Kristen H has donated £5. There's a few that says like Anonymous has donated, but I think the total thing you see for charity donations is across all the recent videos I've put a charity fundraiser on. So I don't think that's exclusively the stream. I think that, yeah, as Ultrix says, 260 overall time. So yeah.
Wait, what happened?
There was just some more donations.
Ah, gotcha. I thought you were talking about like everyone. Are they also doing the pixel thing, or is it just on my end?
I think it's just yours. I think Bots' looks alright.
Yeah, I'll wave my hand in front.
Yeah, yours is slightly pixelated, but I think that's just because it's a phone camera.
Yeah, it's not a phone camera, it's a laptop camera.
Oh,
it's just fucking garbage.
Yeah, I spent $70 on a good webcam and it still screws up my feed, so that's
if you go into Cam Mic, if you get the toolbar at the bottom, do you get the thing that lets you go to general and then set your definition?
Yeah, I set it to 720p. I don't know why it's still doing it.
So you can fix it on another one, I guess. It's probably just either it's trying to do it due to connection or whatever. Or...
Yeah, no, I have like a terrible connection at my place. My Wi-Fi kind of sucks. Maybe if I closed out a few tabs, I don't know. That probably.
Yeah. See a hype if you're.
Hey, I see a question that I can actually answer. Heads being used for gas masks. Personally, I just use heads for photographing. I don't like store them on there because it fucks up the straps over time, but what I use are these, well, haircut mannequin heads. You can get these on, like, garage sales or Craigslist real easy. They're just meant to teach people how to do haircuts. I wouldn't do styrofoam. If you do use styrofoam, just wrap it in, like, a shirt or something, and then put the mask on over it, but, like, styrofoam over time will fuck up the rubber,
What I personally recommend for, display heads, I would say only use them if you plan on rotating the masks out with other masks every so often, because really, even if you have the right material for a display head, the problem is that it's going to put stress on the face piece, it's going to put weight on the harness, and it's going to wear the harness out over time. So it's better to just not have it on a head and stuff the face piece with packing paper that doesn't have any ink or acid in it if possible, or just clean cotton or rags and things like that. Anything that doesn't have any sort of chemical in it that's going to degrade the rubber. But that's what I typically do, just use packing paper, just because it's less stressful on the mask.
Yeah.
And because
Filthy Gardener says I have a blow up doll. Hopefully it works well.
Be careful, the PVC might off gas a bit. Ugh, God, my voice is all messed up. But anyways, yeah, so I'd hope to have the production of the custom C420 pouches hopefully by the end of December. I'm not entirely sure, maybe by the beginning of December, because I was having a bit of trouble with a laser cutting company getting the templates made, and there was a whole debacle about the materials being out of stock, because I was originally going to get it cut from the templates cut from like hardboard fiberboard material, like the stuff they make, like, those wooden clipboards out of. They didn't have that in stock despite being in stock on the website, and so they emailed me like 3 days later after ordering 3-day assembly, so that was cool. But it all ended up working out because I just spent an extra $20. God, I can't talk today. On white Delrin plastic, so those templates should hopefully be in by the 25th, maybe. That's what they said. So, but yeah, no, these I do plan on putting these into a minor batch production. And early batches will be this tan 499 material, and I also have a batch of M81 woodland fabric that I'm going to be making them out of because M81 woodland is desirable still. But yeah, no, I'll plan on making other patterns as well. Except a Higo cam. I'm not making these out of a Higo cam unless you can get a full dossier that proves that those girls are over age.
Riot Gear says real tree or mossy oak. I don't know if he's asking would you do them in real tree or mossy oak, or he's just saying do we like those camos.
I personally wouldn't buy the material, but if I got custom ordered for that material, yes, I would make it. But my personal rule is that if you want it in a pattern that I don't have, you have to pay for the material as well. So that's the only catch to if I were to make it out of that.
Salty Tide says, how many total helmets do you have in your collection? I don't even know of mine. There's a load behind me if I can get them in frame, just stacked up there. And I've got loads in like containers in different rooms. But I actually have no clue, like 30, 40 helmets, I guess, like in terms of usable helmets.
I've got like 3.
Henry L. Yeah, I have a couple new things. I also have, because my birthday was on the 14th, I always make a point to go to my surplus store around my birthday, and I picked up a couple masks. Nothing special, just a couple common pieces, which I probably won't be able to show off very well because of the connection problems my camera is giving me. But anywho, I could get those out if my camera, because I can't see it on my end. Apparently, it's just everyone else that sees it. But I'll be right back, and I'll get a couple.
I think for what I'm waiting for at the moment, there's like Thermo Fisher Decimeter I've got coming. I've hopefully got a DP2 coming that a guy that Hype put me in contact with is trying to sort one out for me. Like I paid him for it, and he should hopefully be able to get me one from Russia because it's sort of harder to get DP2s. And I found somebody in Ukraine with a DP23, right, which looks like a DP2 derivative. So I've got one of those on order as well, just because I couldn't resist getting one. The DP23 is quite weird. I don't actually know if it detects radiation or just reads decimeters, but I thought it's a big DP2 looking thing, so I want to get it and just see what it does.
Thanks for the birthday wishes, everyone. So here are a couple masks that I picked up. There's one that I also got that I can't really get out right now because it's in the giant box, so it's underneath stuff right now. But I guess I should show off the first one here. This is a Canadian Mark II light anti-gas respirator with the L3C facepiece. Thanks. Big shout out to Baroque for helping me with the designation. Nothing special. These are common in the U.S. according to him. When I saw it in the surplus store, I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a Mark I British lag. I need to pick this up because I saw the triangle nose and the outlet valve being the recessed type, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like World War II and it's rare or whatever, and it is like, in hindsight, I don't regret getting it. It was a little bit overpriced, but you know what? It's a variant that neither me or Mulash have, so it was good to have in the collection, I suppose.
Is that one that's got a flexible rubber, or is that one with like a really hard rubber? Because one of my lags has got like really hard rubber, the others has got like actual proper rubber.
Yeah, the L3C is super flexible. Like, it's one of the really, and again, you probably can't see it that well because my camera is having a conniption, but hopefully you can get an idea that it's pretty flexible.
Yeah, it's just because the first one I've got, it like makes an alright face seal for me, but it's like one of those rubbers where I don't know if it's due to age, but I think for thickness it's not completely down to age. That you'd have to be really lucky with your face seal with it because obviously no peripheral seal on it, and it's a really stiff rubber.
When I had my lag, the peripheral seal wasn't the issue. It was just the valve holder wouldn't seal for one reason or another. It like even though it was wired and taped on there, they don't really use tape. They use like that weird fucking gummy stuff, you know. It had that on there. It was all like great, but for some reason it just would not seal.
See, this mask would seal me if not for the fact that it has like really bad warping and permanent set due to being crushed in the carrier for so long. Like that's like the same problem that like a lot of German masks have because people will store them in the carry cans and they weren't meant to be stored like that. Same deal with these. These weren't meant to be stored in the carriers because you literally have to just ball these up in order to fit them in there. So it's a bit crushed, but it's still very, very flexible and in very good condition. Like I said, I did kind of overpay for it because I was in a hurry. I didn't have time to look at it, and basically, I think I paid like 64 for the face piece, which again, even on its own, is like way too much, and then like 32.50 for the carrier, because of course they price the carrier separately, because of course surplus stores do that.
What mask was that? Sorry, Avery, because he was saying thanks for me helping him figure out how to adjust the strap. But what mask was it? I can't even remember. But with most masks, it is just literally prise something up so you can move the strap free and put it back.
Speaking of straps, that's like the one thing that I really dislike about the light anti-gas respirators is the weird looped clinch tips that you can't remove. It doesn't allow
Oh
you to
yeah, yeah.
remove the harness.
Yeah.
Like I never understood why that was like a design feature with British masks. Like I mean, I get that it
Yeah,
has
I
a point.
think the S6 I've got was the like first mask that actually, changed that. But I don't think all S6 have the straps that changed it. I think some
Yeah.
S6 have the same strap system and then
Mhm.
some.
I know. I think Moulage has a Turkish SR6 that also has like the same British like looped strap system.
Yeah, that's the thing that annoyed me with my Canadian C3. It's got that exact same strap system. And, like, out of all the improvements you could have made, please just change those straps.
Yeah, no.
Salty Tide. I actually do wear a mask in public, not a full face mask. I wear one of those Russian Briz. What are they called? The not it's not
Y2K,
Y2K.
U2K is type ones.
Well, it's not Y2K because the Y is a Russian Cyrillic letter. I think no U2K. That's it. It's the U2K. It's that green thing that's over in the back corner there in the frame. But if I were to wear a full face mask, I'd probably wear like my M45 or my M48 just to creep people out. That'll get them social distancing. Oh, people PMing me.
Yeah, my one for wearing in public, I've got a few because basically what I just do is keep a load in my car and my car boot, and then if I'm going out with different people, I have like masks that I just take with them. But I think normally it just ends up being one of the like pretty good, normally the Chinese Strong M50 or the Strong M60 at the moment, the one that's just kind of like a decent Chinese half face respirator that takes 3M filters.
Yeah, I've got the M50. That's what I use every day.
Let me get this back in the. We got a face form back here because if anyone is asking what masks, I just take a bunch of brown packing paper and ball it up. That's literally all I need. It also lets you custom tailor it to the specific mask shape, so that's like the other advantage of these. It's like if you have a mask with a weird shape and you need it filled out, it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, you can get different P3 filters for them, Griffin. I mean, if you're on about like the U2Ks, there are those in P1, P2, and P3, depending on like when they were made and which factory made them. But with like the strong M50s, strong M60s, you can put like 3M proper P3 filters on, or P100s, whatever you want to call them, or like other brands that use that same connection.
Here is. Huh?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I saw Ultrix asking about the mask I just put on there. I've got here this Dupor half-face respirator. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about it. I kind of just bought this because it looks cool.
Actually, I could tell you a bit about that, but I'll let you finish.
Oh yeah, no. I know it's like an HS covers design. It's got these felt pads, It's also kind of fucking dumb because like it has no inlet valve, but it's got the exhale valve, so it relies entirely on the resistance from the filters to open the valve.
That's basically what the covers masks did too. So
yeah,
that you could and you can see the design influence on when you look at the inside of the filter because it still has that same pattern.
Especially they've got the same whole thing, and like this thing, it's bi-directional. You can like flip it either side to wear it, right? But it's got nose cutouts on both sides, which is pretty dumb because like it breaks the seal at the chin because you don't have a fucking nose there.
I guess they sacrificed the function for a little bit of idiot proofing.
Oh yeah, no. But thing is, right? Let me put this on the proper way. I'll show you the proper way in a moment here. You can use it as a party hat, and that's pretty fucking cool.
I think it looks more like a dunce cap to me, bots.
It really could be either.
I'd say it's a dunce cap, just given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Riot Gear, do y'all have any vintage gas masks? Yeah, I'm holding one right now, actually. Although I have masks dated as early as 1916, but yeah, we got vintage masks. Anything specific you want to know about? But yeah, here's like the other thing that I got that I'm assembling because I store it with the harness detached. This technically wasn't from my trip to the surplus store. Moulage kind of convinced me to buy these. Well, this is like one of two that we got because I got one for him as well. This is obviously most of you will recognize this as a Belgian L702, except this is a 40 millimeter version. Like most of the L702s that were produced were 42 millimeter, I believe it was. Or, no, it was.
Yeah, 42, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. No, it was smaller than that. The Belgians use like a really tiny.
Was it 38?
That might
yeah,
be
no,
it.
I think that was
That,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, these are super cheap right now on Veru Steleka. I think that these are going for just under $30, which honestly, even if this wasn't like the 40 millimeter exported version, that's already a decent price for an L702, especially in such minty shape as these. Like, obviously, like I said, I ordered two. The other one's sitting back there in front of the fan. That one's Moulage's. But no, these are all minty. Like they still had talcum powder on them and stuff, and like even the valves on the inside are still in good condition, despite being like a really thin, shitty gum rubber. But these can accept both NATO and GOST canisters. Not that you would probably want to use one of these, but in case you did, they can accept them.
Huh, whack.
Yeah, random memes. I can't fix that. I have it set on the highest setting, and this is like a really expensive webcam. It's just my connection. I'm sorry, I can't be helped.
So, I actually have a request to put my NC1 on the head. I shall return shortly. I will stop my camera so I don't get caught in any reflections or anything, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, weirdly, among us, our 7102s were one of those masks that a year or two ago in the UK were turning up really cheaply with the canisters and everything. I don't know why. It was just one of those masks where they just flooded the surplus market all of a sudden. Like, not that I'd recommend people get a mask as old as that for any proper use. It was just interesting. Yeah. They were like £30 for like a metal can and a mask.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit disappointed that these don't come with the filters. Obviously, they didn't send them with filters because they don't want people breathing through them. But for a historical preservation type of thing, it would have been neat to have it. But it's whatever. But I really think that these were probably one of the best civilian masks of the era. Obviously, there are other ones that are pretty good, like the Swiss B mask or the what's another good one, the Finnish M39 and all that. But these were really kind of ahead of the game when it came to civilian masks. Like, it's just that good borderline between this is really goddamn cheap, but also it's really, really well made with really good materials that it's just perfect as a civilian mask for its time.
Yeah. I think my favorite civilian mask, like almost ever, like obviously if you made a really good modern civilian mask, it wouldn't count, but from all like the World War II era ones, would probably be the Finnish M39, just because it's basically a bit like a German, VM38, just a lot better designed, or VM37, whichever one it was.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd say the M39s are better than the VM37s, just because it's like the rubber's better quality, it doesn't have a exposed flutter valve on the front, and it's just, a lot better.
The exhale valve as well kind of acts slightly like a voice diaphragm on the Finnish ones as well, just because it kind of clicks a bit when you talk. So, is that?
Yeah, it's because it's got one of those weird spring-loaded mica check valves. I don't know why there so many Western European masks did that at the time. It was mostly a very Germanic design to have like a spring-loaded mica valve, but that's what it uses.
So it turns out the NC1 is very front-heavy and doesn't want to stay up.
Just because they put a dong on the front of it.
Yeah, no.
I wonder how much heavier... Oh, go ahead.
I gotta show you guys something. This shit'll blow your mind. Let me take one of the filters off of this.
Before you get to that, I just wanted to... I wonder how much front heavier it would be if they went ahead with the that one Edgewood experimental mask, where it's an NC1 that has an M8 valve. You remember that? Or just has an M8 valve instead of a flutter valve? It is.
I got an entirely separate mask for this. Here is the Mine Safety Appliances Comfo. Now, you see, these things actually have the same thread pitch. They just reversed the, what part goes in, right?
You scared me for a second. I thought you were going to screw them onto a Comfo.
Oh, no, not the filters. No. You see, what I'm going to do is even worse.
No.
Yeah, no. You can actually screw the masks together.
God damn it.
Just make them one.
Reminds me a bit of that Forgotten Weapons thing where you could put the French rifles together with a bayonet system and they get stuck.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly like that. Oh, and also you can make a hockey puck by Yeah. Just screw those together too. Look at that.
Oh
No
yeah.
gas is getting through that.
That's awful. Thank you, bots.
Yeah, no problem.
In terms of the newest mask I've actually got, I mean, I'm borrowing this one, but otherwise I'd say it probably is this PMK4. Of all the ones I actually own, if we ignore like just generic, like industrial respirators that you can pretty much buy that are brand new, probably either my M50 or my GSR. Probably, I think, off the top of my head.
The newest masks that I own, obviously, I was just handling the most recent mask that I've gotten, the Finnish exported Belgian L702. But in terms of like the newest production masks that I own, aside from whatever Chinese industrial stuff that Hype has sent me, probably my M53, honest, because I think that's dated 2014. So yeah, that'd be my newest production mask, and it was re-inspected in 2019. So
Oh damn.
yeah. A lot of them are like that. A lot of the 2014 ones got re-inspected in 2019.
You'll have to ask the guy who sent it me, but I think now there are people exporting them from Russia. The PMK4s. It came with all the other accessories and that, but it was sent to me by Noah101 on Discord. He's on here at the moment. He's got a different name. I always forget what his name is on YouTube. And it came with like the filter and everything.
Most expensive mask.
Christ, cat.
Probably the most expensive mask that I have. Me personally, that I bought. Let me think. Actually, let me think on that. That would probably go to either my German Draeger Volga 6 mask R168 diving face piece, or my Japanese Self-Defense Forces Type 1. Or potentially my M48, which I actually have sitting right next to me here. I could get that out.
I think apparently the voice diaphragm's good enough on this that you can hear people when they speak through it.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good diaphragm. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, it's the only PMK mask I actually like. I know the PMKS is also really similar, but PMK 1, 2, and 3 are just kind of like, oh, it's the same mask almost, with slight improvements over each model.
Got this nightmare boy out. It's weird. This one's a medium, but it's like actually kind of too small on me. I probably should have gotten a large. Well, not that I can have like the option to, but you know.
Oh yeah, no.
It's not like there's an abundance of these things.
Yeah, about the most expensive mask that I own, my fucking Bureau Mines box respirator, I paid like $350 for that.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the most I've spent on a mask is. I mean, I've spent a lot more on random, just Geiger counter dosimeter type things. Where I'm like, oh, it looks like a rare model. I'll buy that for stupid money. But
I think I actually spent more on my M53 than I spent on this, because I think this was like, as a full kit, was like 284, not counting the face piece carrier, because I had to get this separately because it didn't come with this. But yeah, so this was like 284. My M53 as a full kit without the VPU, because I think with the VPU it came to closer to around 400. So yeah, my M53 is probably closer to the most expensive mask that I own, actually.
Oh shit.
For the person saying, was this GOST or NATO compatible, I'm pretty sure it's still GOST on the PMK4s, unfortunately. It comes with this filter.
Dumpster fire on.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is GOST rather than NATO. But I'm not going to start trying to force random filters into it because it's not my actual mask, so...
You know, my M2 that I was showing last time, and I've still got that right here, because this is like my finger fucking mask. I keep this on me all the time. This is like the second most expensive mask I own. I paid a lot for this. You know, because I'm actually making a French reenacting kit, which when that is done, that's going to be really fucking cool. I've got currently the coat and the helmet coming in for that. So,
as long as it's not disturbed, Henry, if it's a mask that has asbestos in the face piece, it's not going to go everywhere. Because asbestos is sort of like that. It's only really dangerous if disturbed. Yeah, the PMK4 is actually generally pretty damn good. The only annoying thing is the Russians still didn't go to better straps. They still have the stupid buckle system where you have to slowly pull the straps through, like per individual strap.
Oh, Eltrix, do you mean the corrected English that I got off eBay not too long ago?
No, Jesus. We're using Streamlabs, which is another sort of thing, a bit like Zoom, but it just incorporates with YouTube for like multiple webcams. That's why it's just quite handy to use. I'll take this off now, though.
Hey, the Papper's running, hell yeah.
That light's suddenly a lot brighter in my eyes. The sunglasses kind of outfit I've got on there, which is quite cool. It's the snow blind type one they do.
This battery is old, and once it expires, it's dead. So I probably should not run this for too long.
Oh no. Yeah, no, it's sounding kind of weak there.
Yeah, no, this is one of the old BA5800/U lithium sulfur dioxide batteries. Once this thing expires, it's dead.
Yeah. Fuck, I remember, like, moving out of my dorm, my roommate, he was always really obnoxious. He'd, like, have an alarm that goes on for, like, 10 minutes, and he wouldn't even shut it off, in the morning. So when I was packing up to move out, I would just turn on the Papper while he's sleeping just to fuck with him. Like, oops, I accidentally turned on the vacuum cleaner. But I will be right back once more. I'm gonna go grab that corrected English that Eltrix was asking me about.
Salty Tide, as for when I'll next be doing a stream, I mean, I'll probably do one tomorrow evening, I assume. But when it comes down to streaming with other people, it has to be when everybody else is free to do it and can agree on a day to do it and a time and everything. Because I want to do a StreamYards one with Weapon Collector as in Mike, because we keep saying we'll do that at some point, then we just never get around to planning it. So... yeah, upcoming videos I'm doing, just for people who want a kind of timeline thing while Bots is getting his mask. I've got on Friday the video coming out on the PMK4, which I think a lot of you will find interesting because it is an interesting mask. And again, a big thank you to Noah for sending it me, because, again, I don't really want to pay £200 for PMK4, especially when I'm saving up for a bunker, because that's kind of my priority at the moment. There'll be a video on the Thermo Fisher dosimeter when that comes, and there'll be a video on the DP2 and DP23 when they come. But I don't know when exactly they're coming. For other videos, there'll just be regular stuff on just random shit. Otherwise.
Yeah, I've got this corrected English here. I wanted to actually show this on stream. I am going to do a video specifically about this example some point down the line, but I figure I would like to talk about here. It is a special example, actually, because not only does it have, let me find a way to show you this, the exhale valve still attached.
Oh, hot.
Yeah, but that's not even the fucking most nutso thing. This canister, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to see this. It's actually... one of these flat-topped Type H canisters, which, you can't really see the markings, but they're just, like, barely there, just dented into the metal. Well, I guess embossed, right? That is the second time I've ever seen a canister, like a Type H canister with markings like that, which is pretty fucking bizarre because they've just been popping up the last couple of weeks. Like, there were a few Type L canisters, which are the canisters that were used on masks, like the Akron TISO, the COPS TISO, all those, like, late war experimental things. The Type Ls, they had, like, a lot of those flat tops, so I thought it was something that was just only among them. And then the other day, a Type J came up that had that flat top. And then the other day, a Type H came up that had that. And then I was looking at my collection the other day, and I just opened my display case and found that that one has that kind of fucking marking, which was just weird. Which I will be back. I figure I probably should have grabbed this earlier, but I will show you what the canister markings are supposed to look like.
Right.
Right back.
To answer a couple of questions, for Daniel, however your name's pronounced, it's not a backyard bunker, no. What I'm saving up to buy, if I can find where I put the fucking sort of little illustration picture I've got of it, is an old ROC bunker. Basically, in the Cold War, Britain had these things called Royal Observer Corps bunkers. And what they were is basically 2 to 4 man bunkers designed for monitoring, like the drift of fallout and sort of bomb detonations. They became obsolete. Most of them were, like sold off in the 1990s when the Cold War ended. A lot of them have sadly been destroyed or just become completely derelict and fallen apart. But there are still some now and again that pop up for sale for not too much, and with a bit of extra investment, you can restore them and actually have them as a little pretty comfy little place to live. So that's my plan with an ROC bunker, just because affordable housing in my area is £500,000 for like a 1-bedroom apartment. An ROC bunker would be like 30 grand max. So that gives you a pretty good idea of like the difference in price.
Oh, Pedro, yes, if you have a link to the actual playlist, because the playlist may be unlisted, but if you have the link to it, you can actually still view the full playlist of videos in the period where I'm still kind of getting my stuff together and trying to set up a new line of videos. But I did post a link to my my old videos in Weapons and Stuff server, so if you join his server, you'll have access to it. I think I posted in the self-advertisement channel, and I think Henry L pinned it in there, so if y'all want to see my videos, it's still there. But I don't know, I could link it to you, but I just don't want to do it publicly right now, because those videos are older. There's a lot of misinformation in some of the older videos. And
right. Yeah, sorry, just quickly for Matej or Matej before his comment slips up. What is your most smelly gas mask NBC equipment? For me, it's definitely my OKZ or whatever it's called suit, like the green Soviet chemical suit. I actually store mine outside in the container just because in the house it stinks up the house. It like literally you can smell it in every room because it's got this weird kind of like rubber smell to it, but it's not like a conventional rubber smell. It's like it's like something's died inside, something rubber kind of smell.
I've got a good story about these. Corrected Englishes, right? They've got like their own fucking smell. I'm not sure if other World War I masks have them, like the Richardson Ford cops. I'm sure they do, right?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Like every time I open up that tub that has them all in there, it just reeks up the whole room with like crusty
it's
rubber
got that
smell.
fucking stank, But like one time, right, I was walking through an antique store, and I caught a whiff of that stench, and I was like, hang on. Is there one of these fucking masks here? And I'm like looking around, right? And I find like beneath like an East German coat, there was a fucking corrected English in there.
So you can identify it by scent, like a sniffer dog.
Yeah, dude, it's like fucking morel mushrooms or whatever the pigs look at for, yeah.
I was trying to find where I've put that picture of the ROC bunker because I had it fucking behind me somewhere. It's got buried now in a
Aside from like the World War I stuff that has a definite stench to it, probably the other thing that I'd say has like the most distinct smell is my Avon improved powered air purifying respirator, or IPAP or STPAP or whatever they prefer to call it. The thing that when you power it on and breathe through it smells like strawberry air freshener.
Yeah, saying that, before I forget, because I get asked about this a lot in the comments, and no, it's not like your thing's toxic or melting or something. If you buy, for whatever reason, Scott Pro filters, they always have a very strong plastic smell to them. That's like an actual thing.
Speaking of filters, I've actually got this here now. Oh god, you still can't see that. But yeah, no, you can kind of see there's this giant fucking ridge here, right, going around the edge. And here there is the serial number. This is a Type J canister, so, it's, yeah. These flat-topped ones have, like, a lot of the same info, right? It's got on this side the serial number and the model name, and on the other side the manufacturing stamp. But it's just, like, all pretty flat compared to this. I don't know why they did that. Yeah, they've all been manufactured in, like, the same month, so it might just be, like, something they did that month and then never did again, but who fucking knows?
Oh, sure, Eltrix, I'll get it out in just one moment. Let me put my M40 away.
Yeah. While you guys are talking about that, I'm just going to really try and look for that ROC picture, because I really don't know where it's gone, and that's kind of worrying me now. Oh, look, there it is! Oh, no. It's behind between two things. So yeah, for the people who don't know what an ROC bunker is, it's literally one of these, which is Britain's sort of mass-produced monitoring sort of bunkers. Sadly, there are none that close to me that are still around. There was one that was like 3 miles from my house that's been demolished. There was another slightly bigger airfield bunker like this that's been demolished. But there is an ROC bunker 30 miles from me that's still in good condition, so I'm going to have a drive up in a couple of weeks to check that one out, see if it's actually, like welded shut or whatever, or see if there's any information on the actual physical land that might be for sale. Nice. But basically, you have your entrance room with a little toilet behind it. Then you've got your main room where they used to keep all the monitoring equipment, the bunk beds, the rations and everything else. But I'm not going to restore one to be like exactly like an ROC bunker because there's a couple of museums that have done that. In all honesty, if I just make it as kind of comfortable to live in as possible, just so it's somewhere to live. And then you use the radiation monitoring port where they've got that old dick-shaped ionization chamber on there. You put like a 5G antenna on there, and then you can run it down and get internet in it. Where they used to have a diesel generator that would plug in via that air vent, you can then just plug in a modern solar kind of battery pack and thing there. And you can obviously use a petrol or diesel generator if you wanted additional power. But it's pretty actually easy if you want to spend the money and time to do it to convert them to be like quite a comfy little small kind of place to live. I have no idea what a Bundeswehr. Like, I don't know which model ABC protection suit that is. Is that like a pretty old NBC suit? Because ABC was like the old word for NBC, CBRN, wasn't it? Atomic Biological Chemical. I think, Pedro, there actually are, but it's quite hard to find them reliably because I found even the ones that are meant to be DIN don't always come in 40mm DIN. A bit like some of the companies that do GOST and NATO ones, it's quite hard to like find sellers that actually know the difference because you're not generally buying directly from a company, which is the problem with a lot of like places that sell filters. You're just buying from somebody who's bought a load in.
All right, for the let's see who requested the. Oh yeah, it was Ultrix that requested. Yeah, so here it is. I'm still in the process of restoring it. As you can see, it is missing the C4 head harness assembly. I don't have a spare one, and finding the materials to make a replica are like next to impossible. The 7/8 inch elastic that US masks use is just flat out impossible to get. Like, I found one company that was willing to produce it, but to order it, you had to have a batch order of like it was like 92 cents per yard, and they had a minimum order of 1,000 yard spool, so there was no way in hell I was going to do that. And then the vinyl cloth that they use for the head pad has also been notoriously difficult to locate. Just all the little bits and pieces, and just even down to the webbing used for the buckle tabs is just impossible to find. So I've not been able to finish this restoration yet, but it is more or less complete other than the head harness.
There was a comment I saw. Oh yeah, Mike was saying the Spaziani TR2002 had a lovely smell when new. There are quite a few masks. I suppose it's kind of opinion based, isn't it? If you like or don't like the smell of something. But there's quite a few masks when new that can have like an alright or fine smell. Like, I don't know if I've ever had any that have like a new car smell. That kind of really nice smell. But there's certainly things I've had that have had horrible smells or overpowering smells. I have a feeling like the Czech CM3, CM4, M10, and M10M had an alright smell if you got one that was sealed up quite well. It was just kind of like a not unpleasant rubber odor, but
I've never actually noticed any smells with my my OM10 or my CM4, but I do know that they bloom like a motherfucker. Like, every time I check up on those things, they're just covered in bloom. There's no way to get rid of it for good.
weirdly, I think I've been surprisingly lucky with mine not blooming. But I don't know why.
Like, every other Czech mask that I've handled, they're always blooming. Like, even if you clean it off, even with like, the Trident silicone that I always use and recommend, which usually does the trick for most masks, it just does not work on those things. It always comes back.
Yeah, I mean, I know, for example, the worst mask I've ever seen for talc storage was, I think, the Bulgarian PG1 and PDE one. One was a cheap filter mask, and the other was like the kind of M65 style mask thing. And Christ, that was like hard to get that stuff off. Like, you had to properly scrub it off.
Oh yeah, detail about the PG ones. Those are actually a clone of the Czech CM4, if you can believe it or not.
Oh, okay, because it doesn't look that much like it. And CM4 is definitely, I prefer it out of those two masks, but.
Yeah, it was like they took the general profile of the CM4, but it was like they instead of making the separate inlet and outlet assembly, they just combined the outlet valve with the voice emitter. Is what they did.
Yeah, because the PDE one, I mean, I know they're like kind of just obviously meant to be M17 clones, but I have a feeling that's more closely based on the M10, like the original M10, than any of the others.
Bulgaria has never actually directly copied any US masks. They've always followed a Czech design influence for whatever reason.
So yeah, like you make a clone of somebody else's clone, so it's like the quality gets less every time.
Yeah, no, PG ones are okay. They're not the greatest masks, but apparently they're okay enough for Bulgaria to still be making them today. Because Zebra Rubber, the company that makes them, is still producing them to this day, and you can buy them And I believe there's some differences from the ones from the Cold War. The current production ones have like an upgraded mesh skull cap, similar to what the Czechs did with the CM4 later in production. But
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing. If you get one that was modern enough, it's not been stored badly or anything, so it's in good condition and it has a better head harness, it wouldn't be bad. It's just my one's a bit too small for me. It obviously been crushed in a satchel for years, so it basically never quite. Although it will make an airtight seal to my face, it kind of crushes my face because it wants to close itself up again. So yeah, I'd say again, it depends what you want a mask for as well, doesn't it? If you just want one for very casual kind of use that's not really going to have to hold up to anything, they'd probably be fine. But again, if you want something that you seriously relied on, then you might want to invest quite a bit more.
Eltrix, I do not have an E3 filter, unfortunately. Neither does Moulage. That is the one thing that, because we never actually, neither of us have owned a full E3 6-7 kit. E637, excuse me. We never actually owned a full kit of one of those. All of our M5 kits have just been based around this one face piece patched together with other components. So technically the one I have is an M5 11.7 because of the carrier that I have is an M7 carrier instead of the E6 carrier. Excuse me, E7 carrier. I'm just screwing up my US designations today. I'm usually more on my game about that. But yeah, no, it's these things are kind of hilariously overpriced. Like, these aren't rare by any means. Like M7 M7 carrier bags are not rare in the slightest in the US, but because of that D-Day, like, these aren't even used on D-Day. Like during Operation Overlord, during the D-Day assaults, they didn't have the M5 11.7. They had the E637, which had the earlier carrier, which was smaller, and then it had 4 dot fasteners instead of these 3 lifted dots. So this is a much later carrier, which had already been designed before Operation Overlord, but they did not want to waste time going through the process of reissuing a bunch of production masks, so they just issued all the prototypes.
That's sort of interesting, because one of the things my granddad said about World War II, just being in like Britain's Royal Artillery, was the amount of like equipment where partway into like 44 or 45 they were just given like the new issue Lee Enfields and like the 17-pounder guns for the artillery. Well, obviously loads of soldiers were just issued with, I guess, what they had available at the time, and then they were given the better stuff partway through. Oh, it's same with bayonets as well. Because when I showed him the old Lee Enfield bayonet I got recently, he was like, "Oh yeah, I had one of those to start with," and then they gave me the like little crappy spike thing. Again, I suppose it's the same thing of just when you can get around to retrofitting everybody, you give them the newer stuff.
The weird thing about the M5 series masks, it's just one, but the weird thing about the M5 11.7 is it really kind of ceased to continue being used after the Second World War. It's like, I get why, but it's also kind of hilarious that it's just like after 1945, like even into 1945, because I think there's like some late 1945 technical manuals that don't even reference this thing. Like, and especially post-war ones where the M5 would probably still be in use in some circulation, there's just no reference to this mask whatsoever. It's like the US completely just abandoned the concept. I mean, it's
seems kind of a shame. But...
It's whatever, just because there was some very inherent flaws with the M5. The main one being that the TSO deflector system isn't the most effective, and then it also had problems with sealing on a lot of people. I believe it was Baroque that told me that during the Australian light respirator trials, the Australian light anti-gas respirator was tested against the M5, and then everyone preferred the Australian ALAG.
No, I suppose if a light anti-gas respirator is considered universally better, there probably are some problems, because the light anti-gas is kind of fine, but there's nothing good about it.
The main problem that I see with the M5, other than just, the well-known cold setting problem, is really it just, as much as I hate to say it, a lot of the early US masks had kind of shit ergonomics. It's like they were trying to design a face piece for like a multicultural variety of ethnic groups, and so they just kind of made like this gray lump where it's like you have so much dead space and the facial seal doesn't quite work as good. They eventually ironed that out, but like a lot of these World War II era face pieces were just kind of a general profile, and they weren't really tailored to work with human ergonomics more than they needed to. But they worked well when they fit, but if you didn't fit it, you were going to have the worst time in the world. And then the other thing is, because this was made out of neoprene, the rubber is slightly more stiff. Like, this is actually... It isn't just because of the cold set. Like, the cold set goes away once the mask warms up, but it's a very stiff, inflexible rubber, so you'll have a difficult time sealing it no matter who you are.
Yeah, I think even like the M9 doesn't seal that well for me. But again, I think sometimes there's a problem again if you're thinking about masks that old is how well have they been stored over decades, because I'm sure that has some effect on how well it'll face form. I mean, obviously not with problems originally back in the day they were designed, but if you get one now and try it on, I think that generally causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, my good M9 seals perfectly. Obviously, you know, like these ones don't. Like they don't seal at all. But my good one, I've actually got that right over here.
Hold on, my camera focusing.
My good M9 actually seals.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I really like the M9 design, but I suppose the thing I really like about it is just the Finnish M61 sort of improved like clone of it, because that's the thing I think I really.
Oh yeah, no, arguably the Finnish M61s is like the best M9 clone there is, and also my camera is not autofocusing. What the heck is going on? Like,
try waving your hand in front of it like that, because those webcams autofocus on what they think is a face for a while or movement, which is why I always have a problem if I hold up something to the foreground.
It's having difficulty. Like, I'm really blurred out. Here, actually, I'm gonna go get a mask while it's doing that, so be right back.
Right.
Oh, Mr. Liveira, I'm sure it's the usual suspects. We'll just call them that.
Yeah. yeah. Here's something I kind of want to talk about with these canisters, the World War I ones. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here, but this is what I've been researching for the last 7 or 8 months. Alright, so like, World War I American canisters, doesn't matter which one, don't fucking use it. You know, they don't have asbestos in them, there's none of that, right? What's in there is cotton, soda lime, and charcoal. The thing is, you still don't want to use these, because one, it's going to damage the filter, and that's what I care about. But two, there's the less important thing, your safety. That's right, you know. They're still dangerous, as these things, even when they were brand new, leaked a shitload of their charcoal and soda lime. It actually got to the point where it was causing issues with the TSO masks, where it would spray, you know, this black dust all over the lenses, and it would cause actual fogging. That couldn't be cleared with the deflectors, because that's what's fucking doing it, you know. But you know, so I'm sure this goes without saying, just don't fucking use these.
Yeah, for all the people anyway that want a canister filter that's kind of safe to use if they just want to go for something 40mm, get one of these. They FP203s. I always forget the number of them, but the safe EO14s, the modern EO14s. I think Masterpol still makes, just because it's literally like a Ghost's ones that will fit on a NATO mask if you want to, with a hose.
Again, people, I can't fix the camera. This is a high definition webcam, and it's just my connection that's really bad or something. I think we should just stop using StreamYard, because this is like when I'm just testing the stream, it doesn't do this. But yeah, no, I don't know what's wrong with it. I can't fix it. I have it set at the highest quality, so it's all on the connections end. It's nothing that I can fix.
Yeah, it also doesn't help with StreamYard that I think I have to pay a premium if I want us to have 1080p between us, whereas I think it does 720p between us.
I don't even think it's like the quality's fault. It's literally the problem is that just my Wi-Fi sucks and it's just coming through weird. Anyways, because we were talking about M9s, I decided to get this thing out before I finish the restoration on it and have to send it back to Retro Respirators. This goes by many names. I haven't really fully figured out what the actual final designation on this would be, because references will call this the E19R49, or some references will call it the E48R1. And then ultimately it became adopted as the C48R1, and just a lot of people will just call it the E48. So this is essentially the final prototype for what would be adopted as the M9 field protective mask. This one, here's the scary thing about this one. This isn't black natural rubber. This is butyl. So the U.S. had been experimenting with butyl rubber masks as early as like the late 1940s. This one particular one is dated 1948. However, some of the earlier M9 prototypes were also made out of butyl, and they were dated, and they go back to as early as 1944. So yeah, so these are This is like the only one that we know of existing outside of the Fort Leonard Wood Chemical Warfare Museum. This one, like I said, is owned by Retro Respirators. This one was on the gasmasks.net or Le Masque à Gaz, Bart Wilkes's collection website. That's from like 2007. This one's traded hands a lot of times, and this one's being restored by me. And all I literally have to do is rivet the bottom straps back on, because I've already done the top straps, so I have to do some things with the nape strap on this. But this will be completed hopefully by the end of the year and sent back to him. But I just wanted to show this off before it goes back. I've already shown it on my channel before, but I guess.
Yeah, all right. Just for a far less interesting thing, to answer the thing about FP203 filters, what I believe they are is where Maskpol, after the end of the Cold War, had the machinery to make wasn't it EO14 filters? Because you still actually say EO14 on because they're made using the same machining. But they've replaced some of the innards of the filters, so it's actually got a proper paper heater in there, like if you watch the videos where people cut them up. So there's nothing dodgy in them, but it's basically they had the machining, so they still kept making the filters. It's just they're not dodgy anymore. So if you just want one for like the sake of owning them. But yeah, they were just mostly for industry, I think, where the idea was that you replace the filters less often and just have them in the satchel. Henry's got a question for Pops.
What's your question?
Oddly enough, this is way more comfortable than the finalized M9s that are made out of the white rubber. Like, the butyl face pieces seal way more and are way more flexible and comfortable.
It's kind of a shame then that they didn't realise back then that butyl was kind of a good thing to use on masks.
Yeah, no, like literally the only reason we were experimenting with butyl at all that early is because we did not like the neoprene of the M5 because it had the issue with, getting stiff in the cold. And so butyl was obviously more thermally resistant to that. Like, it didn't go stiff in the cold, but what we didn't realize, it was way more chemically resistant. But as soon as the war was over and we had access to natural rubber again, these sort of just went out the window because they were too expensive to produce in comparison. But that does make me wonder why we never made the M9 out of black rubber. Like, I know that there is a couple M9A1s that are made out of black rubber, and I think it is natural rubber, and they're dated 1952, but I don't know anything about those, and I don't want to speak on those too much, but, we never really... It's weird that we chose white rubber for the M9, because it doesn't really make any sense, considering that even previously we were using gray rubber for, like, the lightweight service masks, but, it's just weird. They really kind of shot themselves in the foot by not adopting this. Like, if I had a choice between, like, an E19 R49 or E48 R1, whatever the hell you want to call these, and an M17, I would pick this over the M17, obviously, because, threaded, and it's made of butyl. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think somebody earlier in the stream was saying about, like, cheek filter masks, and, like, the thing was, like, my opinion on them, even though I'm going to have a biased opinion, is that they're kind of... I can see the appeal of why they might be, like, ambidextrous and everything, but it just seems such a weird thing to go from having threaded filter canisters to having something that's, like, oh, you have to take the mask apart and it's a pain in the ass to put the filters back in. Because even with my PBF, when I re-put the filters back in this, when I was using this for a video a while ago, I've still not managed to get those, like...
Oh yeah, there's a trick to it. You gotta stretch it out in a weird way. But the logic behind that was they felt that, like, oh, we don't want our troops replacing their own canisters because they're going to screw it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a doctrine system where the filters are just integral to the face piece, and then they're out in the hot zone for a certain amount of time. And then once that time is up, they're rotated to a safe position in the rear, and they rotate more men front to take their place. So that was kind of how they ran things for a long time. And even after that, troops didn't really replace their own filters, even with threaded filters. Also, I'll answer that question about the Papper, super cool, Star 23. Be right back.
Yeah, while he's out, I'll answer Steve Wood's question. I haven't really been to Shop Goodwill lately because I'm not really in the market for masks too much at the moment, just because I'm building my French 1916 reenacting kit.
And for me, anyway, like, I obviously don't really get Goodwill in the UK, but I've not been buying too many masks recently just because of the fact that I've been saving for the bunker and then just now and again snapping up weird dosimeters I've not seen before, and they're at, like, not too bad prices. Because unlike gas masks, a lot of dosimeters on eBay are kind of like, few and far between when they turn up. So, like with the Soviets, although they mass-produced a hell of a lot of them, you don't always see them exported. So, I don't think, Rich, you know what KKK masks look like. They'd be white. I mean, maybe the PPM one in the background, if it had a bit of a hood on it. Mine would look a bit more KKK-like. But...
Yeah, PH helmet's close.
Yep.
Alright, so, to answer the question about the PAPR, here we have an Airboss-made C420 continuous air supply unit. This is a 3-speed, so I'll demonstrate the various speeds at which it runs. And it has a remote switch on it, so I can turn it on and off from the hose. So this is the first position. Here's the second position. And here's the third and final position, which is basically going to be the same speed that the single-speed blowers go at. So that's basically how loud they get.
Oh, and then there's a question about Soldier of Fortune reproductions. Yeah, I was actually considering getting one of those, but I decided against it because Soldier of Fortune, like, their replica M2s at least, they get the lenses entirely wrong. The material kind of isn't exactly right, and also the rubber on the inside isn't very good. It's got like this weird kind of faux leather texture to it, which is odd. But you know, like, despite that's rubber, honestly, I wouldn't really like if you want like a mask for reenacting and you're not really looking to have like something too accurate that's expensive like this shit's fucking pricey. Soldier of Fortune, they're fine for that, right? I wanted to go for like as close to 100% historical accuracy as possible, so I went with frog sacks, or the only inaccuracy is the fact that there's too many crimps on the lens frames there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, so that's really what I think about those.
Rich, just something funny about Ghostbusters, just because I can answer this. Weirdly, in Ghostbusters, one of the little bits of equipment they use are old US Army radiation detectors. I can't remember the exact model offhand, but it's like one of the little handheld ones that was designed for like aircrew survival kits. I had one, and then it broke, so I just took out the working parts, just so I could keep the working parts from it. But yeah, you can probably get them really cheap in the US, actually, those old Radiac kits. It's just they're very rare to turn up in the UK, and they also run on obsolete batteries, which is another pain in the ass of them.
You know, I kind of want to get one of those American civil defense ones. They're like the yellow box with the handle. Those things.
Yeah, there's 3 models, but the most useful one, because I've got one on the shelf up there, the CDV 720. That's a Doomsday radiation one. The one you'd find the most useful is the US CDV 700, because that was the milli-Röntgen range Geiger counter. So it goes basically from background up until something's quite contaminated. But the idea was in the US civil defense ones, you went from that for basically checking contamination on people's clothing and stuff like that. So then going to a CDV 715 or 720, or I think the 710, which was the earlier one, which is basically like, oh, how quickly am I going to die? Which is what those ones tell you. The only problem with the US civil defense ones, though, is there's a gap between the 2 bits of gear where you can't get a radiation range reading when they used to issue the kits. So the CDV 700 cuts off at 50 milliroentgen per hour, and the CDV 715, for example, doesn't really start giving you readings up until you're at 200 milliroentgen per hour. So you can actually have a radiation range which is quite dangerous when neither detector will actually tell you what it is. I'm not making one, Rich. I'm planning on buying one and then restoring one with one of like the many old British ones that are just kind of abandoned. But again, it's just when I've got enough money saved up for it, finding one for sale for a reasonable price and then factoring restoration costs. That's good, Altrix, in terms of charity raising. Yeah.
Oh, whack.
I don't think Bots is actually wearing it, Braden. But he
Yeah,
said...
no, that's his display head. Yeah.
No, this is actually my actual head. I just carry it, like, under my arm, you know, like the Headless Horseman, right?
But yeah, as I was going to say, in regards to US civil defense gear, there is meant to be a really good US radiation detector, but it's not one that really turns up being exported from the US. I don't think it's ITAR protected or anything, but It's like a bit like the Soviet ones I've got on the wall, and the Polish one I've got on the wall. It was like like a bunker-based one where you'd have a probe that would run off of it, and I think it went from like background radiation all the way up to 1,000 Roentgen per hour, and it was like one that didn't have any bits where the ranges didn't overlap, so it was a much more handy kind of one. But I think the idea was you had it in a fallout shelter, you had it on the lowest setting, and then if it started going off, you'd keep turning it up to see how dangerous it was. No, and Rich, I said I'm not making it in my back garden. I'm planning on buying and restoring an ROC post or a similar small field, style one, like one of the small airfield style bunkers, because quite often they will go for fairly cheap. It's just most people aren't willing to really put the time into restoring them or have any use for them. And sadly, a lot get demolished now, which is a real shame, because there were several in my area that have all been demolished, because a lot of time people just buy the land and then, because they're not protected bunkers in terms of like historical value. They just end up getting filled in with concrete or filled in with soil. The tops get bulldozed and then people build on top of them. Whereas why I want one is, although I'm not planning on restoring it to like original ROC condition, because there are a couple of museums that do that. The idea was just to have an affordable living space that I could make pretty off-grid, and just to keep a bit of history alive. Because if you don't buy them, I think every few years there's going to be less and less ROC posts around. Just because sadly, the price of land means most people who ever buy them eventually just destroy them, just because it's more useful to build a house on it than actually keeping it as a bunker.
Plains 124. I don't think I have anything new that I've discovered regarding the development of the Akron TISO I mean, there's stuff that I haven't mentioned in the videos, but anything that I haven't mentioned is pretty much in the thread. The American Expeditionary Forces. I can't talk today. You know what I mean, the U.S. military forums thread on AEF gas equipment. There's pretty much all the major info that I have is in there and been amended at some point. I know that Relics and Respirators made a wiki article about the AT. He kind of posted a lot of my information ad verbatim and didn't really digest it too well, so I'm going to be, no insult to him, of course, but I'm basically going to be revamping that entire article once I finish up working on the C420 article I'm currently writing. But yeah, I'll get anything that hasn't been really discussed in any of my videos. Will probably be in that Wikipedia article. Thank you. But yeah, no. Also, speaking of the C420, scary thing that I've kind of discovered about these. So there's pretty much only like 1 or 2 companies that actually made these. Like, I know that there's ones made by like MSA, Draeger, Airboss, and Avon, and all sorts of other companies, but really, it was just Micronel and their U.S. branch, Micronel Safety USA, which later became Safety Tech International. Those are the only 2 companies that I know of that actually produce these. Every other company either bought the parts and assembled them, or they bought units from Safety Tech and they slapped their own stickers on them. So that's kind of hilarious to think about, but it makes sense, I guess.
That person, I did not see your question. You can try asking it again, but YouTube will randomly delete some words and they never show up. And obviously, Rich, I'm very familiar with the Blitz during World War II. I mean, yeah, because the Germans did bomb England a lot and other parts of Britain just because it was a target. But sadly, after World War II, though, lots of the British civil defence funding just went out the window, especially because during the Cold War, it was pretty quickly realised just you were going to get wiped out in a nuclear conflict. There was no chance of surviving it.
It's a shame, during the bombing of England during World War II, the famous singer Al Bowley died. He was, killed by one of the German bombs.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a lot as well, like really famous historical landmarks that got destroyed. Some of them were rebuilt afterwards, but, just in terms of stuff. The funny thing is, Oxford, where I'm from, it wasn't actually bombed, and the only reason was Hitler wanted it as a holiday location after the war. So that was the only reason a lot of it was spared from bombing, but a lot of other historical cities were completely, famous buildings were completely wiped out. But then, of course, the funny thing was with the bombing of London is there's a joke that, once they bombed it, they could have rebuilt everything in a much more efficient grid system for traffic, and they didn't. They built it back as it was with the really shitty narrow roads that can't fit traffic. I mean, Hartlepool's a port town, isn't it, Rich? It doesn't surprise me it was bombed heavily, because obviously pretty much every port town was bombed heavily. Oh, is that the Guy Altrix where they have his song in the credits of The Shining? Yeah, I do know who that is then. Yeah, well, like not properly known.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, he did like most of the music for The Shining. Oh, that's in The Shining.
yeah, because obviously it's just Kubrick would have used it then in the bit near the end. But yeah,
You know, man, the other day, I've got a class in my at my college about World War One, right? And a while back, I had to read this diary entry from a woman who was in a Zeppelin raid at night, and it was really funny because like she wakes up because there's bombs going off, and she's like, oh, she gets her husband to like tries to wake him up, and he's like, I don't care, and he just says, God strafe the Kaiser, and just goes back to sleep, It's quite funny, is it's like from what I've read, like in both that account and stuff like that book, An English Wife in Berlin, that's about An English wife in Berlin, it kind of seems like that was the general attitude of the British during these Zeppelin raids, that they just didn't really matter and they just slept through them,
I'll be right back. I'm gonna put this stuff away because I've got stuff piling up now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to after the stream. I'm gonna have to spend a while.
yeah. Thankfully, on this stream, I've not got too much stuff down, but on some of the other ones, that's why it becomes such a mess behind me or on the floor, because I get stuff down that people request, and I never put it back away like really neatly. So every time it just looks more and more messy, because when I've got stuff neatly put away in other rooms, people keep saying, "Oh, in this stream, can you show this particular mask or this particular, like Radiac or whatever?" Oh, what you can get though, if you wanted one box in the US, is these Victorine 450s, which they still build in the old yellow civil defense style, but they're modern ones. So you flick it on, and then it's got its thing, assuming the batteries. The screen isn't all that good on them. I think the more modern ones have better screens, but these are really expensive to import into the UK. Yeah, I'm going to have to take the batteries out and charge them again. But basically, it's a digital display, and I think it goes from something like background to 50 Rontgen per hour. But it's an ion chamber as well, which is nice. So it basically means that, it's not the same sort of way of using it as a Geiger counter. It's more aware of what the radiation is. They're pretty cool units, but if you like the old yellow civil defense things, it's just nice that Victorine kind of kept making some of their radiation detectors in that style.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I like the ticking,
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Geiger counters are the only ones that actually properly tick, because it's because of how they actually work, because they're counting each ionization event, and that's what makes the tick. The CDV 700s make a really nice tick, but it depends how good the speaker is you put on it with how loud the ticking is. Because I found with mine, because I've got two CDV 700s and I've got two different speakers. There's one speaker that sounds a lot more like the classic ticking you'd associate with Geiger than the other, because it has to be quite a big speaker to make like the deep enough bass sort of piezo clicking.
Oh yeah.
But CDV 700s, if you can get a good one for cheap in the States, they're definitely worth picking up because they're nice detectors. The Soviet DP5s are better built overall and had a bigger range, but CDV 700s are kind of just that classic Geiger counter with the sort of just bright yellow case that floats in the water and everything.
Oh, I don't realize it floated. That's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
that's one of the requirements. Only reason I found that out was reading all the manuals from old CDV things where they came with them, and you can find scans online. And there was all a list of requirements there to be built to, and ones that it floats in water. So if you get a flooding in your fallout shelter or whatever, it floats on top and doesn't get damaged.
That's really cool. I don't know that.
Yeah, the British ones definitely don't float because they're too heavy. But yeah, let me get the CDV 720 down.
Now I'm alone. This is my stream now. I don't know what to talk about on here.
But yeah, they were all pretty much built like this. It was kind of their universal build design, the 700s, the 720s, 715s, all of them. And then, yeah, it's just designed so this sort of floats. And then obviously all your electronics are built into that bit.
Huh.
But these are the funny ones where they had the ratcheting covers so you could check beta contamination. But the problem was they're not really sensitive enough to pick up beta contamination. So it's kind of like one of those designs of like, why did you bother? That's, I think, why they just went to the 715 where everything was contained in the case. Yeah, what you need to do is if you're planning on getting a Geiger counter, you need to make sure you end up getting a CDV 700, because a lot of people sell the 715s and the 720s as Geiger counters, and they're definitely not.
Yeah.
I have to put that
There
back
was
in.
one at like one of those at an antique store, kind of in my area, but they didn't have batteries for it, so I was like, oh, next time I go, I'll bring batteries with them.
Yeah,
Every
D-cells on
time I
all of
went,
the
I completely
CDBs at
forgot.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was good thing is just because how many old radiation detectors use obsolete batteries and we can't get because, you know, they use these weird old batteries that nobody has since used.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's actually another things like the British Mark II there. I've got like the MD3 just uses D-cells, that's fine. The Mark II there uses, although it's the same case because they just retrofitted it with the MD3, the Mark II uses 2 D-cells, one 15-volt and one 30-volt battery. Good luck finding a 15 and 30-volt battery.
Oh, man.
Even with a variable voltage thing, I can't get it to run right because it's not even got like a positive and negative sort of one of setting it up. I think it's got essentially.
I got the nightmare boy.
Right, cool. I think I was just going to say one of it. I think one of the bits relies on one of the other circuits having a battery of a certain strength in, and then it dumps some of the negative through another battery. It's a really weird setup, but yeah, thank fuck when they retrofitted them, they just put a new system in that just runs off a single D cell.
I have brought the garbage boy back, the iPapper. So, a few scary things that I learned about this thing. So apparently, this thing might have been entirely an afterthought to something else that Micronel was developing. So there was like a really weird period in the early 2000s where US SOCOM was experimenting with integrating C420 blowers with SCBAs, and they developed this 40 millimeter lung demand regulator that integrated with a pneumatic Y splitter. So basically, when the SCBA was turned on, there was like a little valve inside which flipped over to the other side of the Y, and it closed off the airflow from the C420. And then Micronel was just like, hey, why don't we just cram all that into just one blower? And then they came out with this pile of garbage, which, you know, it works, but it's terrifying. So, and then Draeger and Avon ended up producing these. This is an Avon one, obviously, which they later rebranded as the ST Papper. These didn't last very long because everyone kind of knew that they were hot garbage. But yeah, no, this is the thing that I said smells like strawberries when I put it on.
I wonder if that's some horrible burning plastic coming out that makes it smell like that.
Well, it's not burning. It's just like a residual adhesive scent. I don't know.
There was quite a cool British papper I spotted on eBay a while ago, but I didn't buy it because it was really expensive. Well, it was one I hadn't seen before, though. It looked like one of the companies had attempted, you know, at one point to design their own one, and then probably just ended up going for C420s or something. Yeah. But it was quite an interesting design. It kind of just looked like a bit like, you know, a rectangle box where I think the filters went on the bottom. And then it clipped onto, I think, probably a bout was the idea. And then you had like one beneath filter, as in like bottom filter. I think then there was either 1, 2, or 3. I'm not sure how many were meant to go on it, like filters that went on the sides, and then you'd have the hose coming out the top to go into the mask. But because the seller wanted loads of money for it, and they didn't even know if it was in working condition, I didn't bother.
That makes sense. I need to get my rechargeable battery because I have the green cap on this thing, and also the friggin' get out of there! Come on, out! 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 Oh boy, give me 1 second, folks. These batteries get stuck in there a lot.
It's like probably won't be on the screen for too much longer, I imagine, because it's gone 20 past 9.
There, it's starting to come.
Wait for Jukes to fix that first.
There it goes. Let me get the actual battery. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Weirdly, I have actually made a DIY Papper before. It's not that brilliant, but it does work. But you know, I kind of want to get a proper one at some point. But it's just getting one for a good amount of money. That doesn't seem stupidly overpriced for what it is.
Well, is this thing on? No. There we go. Ah, yes, it smells so amazing, but also terrible.
It's a Glade brand iPapper.
Pretty much. And yeah, no, these things have gotten stupidly rare now. Like there was just like a few on eBay for sale. Because I didn't think they made a lot of these. I think this is more of just like a US SOCOM experimental thing that they like kind of universally agreed, oh, this is shit. We're not gonna adopt this. So yeah, Moulage has one as well. His is a 3-speed. Mine's a single speed because apparently single speeds needed to be a thing for these. But yeah, actually, what I will do is I will disassemble this on stream and show you the internals because it is a fucking nightmare. This thing is an eldritch abomination that does not need to exist. So first thing that needs to be mentioned is the fucking tapeworm inside the hose, and this is literally just for the SCBA. I think this is just for the lung demand feature. I'm not entirely sure, but it's terrible and it's there. And just like the little shrimp dick hose with the remote cable on it that has a Klansman port, incidentally. And then start removing the pouch, I guess. It's actually very easy to disassemble these once you know the process. So I'll do that on stream. So here's the blower unit itself without anything on it. There's the port on the bottom here for the SCBA to integrate. And then obviously here's the battery cap. Remove the battery because I don't want that shocking me when I disassemble this thing. There is one marking on it, and that's on the side here. I don't know if it's going to focus on that, but
it's going to look like pixels because of the resolution.
Yeah, we really need to figure something out for next time we do one of these streams because StreamYard just ain't going to work. It's just going to keep screwing up my video quality.
Apparently, Hype was saying we can do multiple person streams via Discord, so it might just be easier to do that.
Yeah, that might be a good thing to figure out for next time, because just StreamYard just keeps screwing everything up for me. Anyways, I will attempt to show you guys the utter abomination that this thing is. Where is my screwdriver? Here, I get some of this stuff off my lap, and then I'll get the thing cracked open for you guys. This thing is worth showing. Thanks, bots. Alrighty, get what I recommend using is one of these Swiss Army knife These are like one of my favorite screwdrivers. It's so simple, but like it's so well made.
Not one of these.
I use this thing for like everything. Anyways, so you probably can't see, but there's like several of these little clips running around the edge. There's no screws holding this thing on. It's just several of these little clips. That's it. And then you go in from the bottom here, just kind of. They kind of spring on you, so keep a track of them. And this thing just deserves discussion because it's just awful once you actually see what's inside of these things. Get those off. All right, 2 more, and this thing will actually 3 more.
See you later, Henry.
Oh, what? What happened? Oh.
Henry's just
off.
Oh, gotcha. Later, Henry. Alright, 1 more. And we can see the inside of this abomination. Oh, come on. Come on. There you go. Alright, you ready for this shit? Look at that. Look at that nightmare of a papper. Okay, so let me explain all the shit that's going on inside this thing, assuming that you can see it, which you probably can't, which is unfortunate. So we have just the standard blower from a C420 right here, obviously. It has a 3M command strip on it for some particular reason. It's not stuck to anything. I think it's just there for cushioning. You have like this little small length of like vacuum hose. Like it's literally just plastic vacuum hose. It's just hose clamped onto the Y assembly here. And if you look closely, there's a little pneumatic actuator here that once the SCBA is plugged in and turned on right here, there is a feed of air that goes through this this blue hose. It's like siphoned from the actual SCBA feed, goes through this blue hose, and then flips this little lever here, which again I've already demonstrated, so you don't really need to see it that much. But it basically moves a flap from the blower direction over to the, or moves a flap from the SCBA side of it to the blower section, so there's no blower air coming through. And then obviously there is an Avon compact demand valve right here, which is where the SCBA air is coming in. And then this long tube goes up into the hose, and that's what, lets the SCBA know, hey, you're breathing. And yeah, it's just kind of held together with hot glue. It's awful. And I have no clue what the screw on the back here is for. This little hex nut or whatever, but it's terrifying and it's there and it serves literally no purpose. So yeah. And there's also absolutely no gasket on this thing. I don't think this thing ever got NIOSH approval. So it's amazing that these things even got sold commercially, because there's like, these things just aren't safe.
Sounds like something Myra will start selling them.
Probably, except these things are actually...
on your baby coffin.
Yeah, no, it's like, these things are actually decent. So, you know, it's a good idea, but it was just like a horrible execution. It's like they were better off just sticking with their weird C420 blower integrated with a SCBA design.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of that German ionization chamber I bought, and then just ended up making a video for like an hour complaining about it because they took like the most simple form of radiation detector, they put a load of cool features on it, and then they completely fucked it up by making it so overcomplicated and putting like clockwork parts in it that just break.
Jesus.
Oh, wow. It's awful.
Yeah, and the best bit was that they had a check source inside that's really strong. But the check source, rather than it being done like how every other nation did a check source, which was you have like a big strong thing where you press a button, it like flips it over to a thing, or it, you know, sits under like a steel cover that flips open like that or something. If you press in a button, it's on it's permanently underneath the iron chain, and then there's a very flimsy bit of plastic that's in place, and there's like a switch where you swivel the plastic in and out between it, but the switch like flicks between two positions and it will misalign the bit of plastic quite often, so it's leaking radiation into the detector, so you can't
disgusting.
have it like, you know, reading background if you needed to use it in an actual disaster scenario. And then after twisting it enough times trying to get it to go back into the right position, the plastic just snapped because of how they designed it.
Astounding.
So then it's like, oh, it's reading 3.5 Rontgen in my detector, this is useful, so then I had to disassemble the entire thing to get it out. It's actually a good check source, it's carbon-14, but
let's see. Claire, I'm not sure if I ever will get one of those. Like, maybe someday I will, but I'm never going to, like, go out of my way to buy one. It's either going to be, like, you know, given to me, or it's going to come with something else that I buy. So that's not something that's been on my bucket. Oddly enough, I actually was originally going to get one of those a long time ago before I got my C420, so... Yeah.
The yellow ones are pretty trash. The green ones are alright. It's just they don't really move enough air. When I tried one, Marcus sent me to sort of do videos on before sending back to me. It just didn't move enough air to make it worthwhile for me. It's like, well, I'll just breathe manually, or I'll have this kind of slightly assisting me breathe.
I know Mira sells some black ones, interestingly enough. Like, it's the same design, but they're black for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, Mira's... I think... they might actually be on their website now, if I recall correctly. But, you know...
actually look for that here.
I could be wrong. I know that they said that they were going to be selling them, but...
I mean, I know they sell those SOX Geiger counters for, like, a $50 markup, where they've just changed the color of them. Like, the caps are different.
I know they're getting ready to sell, like, this, that, like, Israeli kind of C420 looking thing, right?
Yeah, the Israeli C420 clone that's awful.
Yeah.
Here, let me grab the hose over here with my feet so I don't have to take my headphones off. Get over here. Get over here, hose. Bitches and hose. This is like the most irritating part about assembling an iPapper. This is doing this bullshit right here. I have to stick the fucking air cannula, whatever the fuck this thing is, all the way up the hose. You gotta jostle it around like you're jerking it off. And then you finally get this thing threaded down. And then the remote switch, which incidentally is the same length as a normal C420 remote switch. So if one desired and had a remote switch C420, they could literally just steal the remote cable off this thing and put it on it. Although remote switch C420s are kind of far and few in between. This fucking hose cover is always sliding up. There we go. There's an iPapper. The most, both the most ingenious and the most god-awful attempt at a hybrid SCBA system. Yes, Mira, very stinky.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I'll probably have to go quite soon anyway because it's.
That's fine. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure people can't tolerate much more of my laggy ass camera.
Yeah, we can always do one of these again, and then again, probably ought to like look at a different way of doing it because again, I don't know why StreamYard hates your webcam, but it
It just
does.
StreamYard just hates me. But yeah, no. Hopefully Discord can be used for streaming like this. So definitely keep me posted if anything happens with that. Because I'd love to do more of these streams, even though I'm not doing videos.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
How much money did we raise for charity? If somebody's able to tell us who's in the thing, because again, it doesn't really show you on the actual interface. But I know somebody was saying we raised maybe like $100, did we, or like $50? Does it say? Does any of the mods know? If not, I can check afterwards. It always show me afterwards. But just thank you anybody anyway that donated, because it's one for disabled veterans. So you know, it's not me taking your money or whatever. It's actually a proper thing. And I think we've got probably more months ahead of the Corona nightmare. It's just never going to end.
Yeah, no. I just saw today we got some new restrictions here in Michigan.
At the moment in the UK, we're meant to be ending our restrictions on the 2nd of December, but it's blatantly not going to happen because they keep hinting, you know, like different MPs when they're asked about more restrictions coming in, but they don't want to be the ones that get the bad PR for saying it. So what's going to blatantly happen is at the moment they're saying, well, if people want to have a Christmas with their family, they're going to have restrictions either side of Christmas. So I think it's just going to be a few days before Christmas, they let you do whatever, and then immediately the case will start shooting up again, and then there's going to be more lockdowns since. And then most people will say, do I even have a job to go back to? Because my company might be bankrupt by the time, you know.
Happy times.
Yeah, it might be Mr. Livera. Because, yeah, I'll say it's hard to say, because with the charity ones, for some reason, I think it shows how much you've raised in total, like for a certain amount of days in a row with the particular chosen charity, rather than the, you know, like individual streams, like it would if it was just a regular monetized stream.
Before we go here, weapon stuff, I have a request sent to me over Discord, actually, to DM you a picture. Here, you'll
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just have a quick look before.
I will send it to Duke as well.
Uh-oh.
It's,
a Garfield, one of those French masks.
The Garfa. It's the Garfa.
Oh, yeah, I saw that in your server.
Yeah, no, Aiden Snake here in chat drew that. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather have it than the actual one I've got, but but yeah. Anyway, I'll see you all. Thanks for coming on, everybody.
Yeah,
it's a good stream.
Glad to be part of the stream, even though my camera is just utter garbage.
Yeah, we'll figure something out when we do one again.
Yeah.
Another way of doing it.
Yeah, still had a good time though.
Right, cool.